Greetings and welcome to Retention Chronicles, the podcast with learnings from expert e-commerce brands and partners. I'm your host, Mariah Parsons. If you're here, you're either on a quest for e-commerce enlightenment or you accidentally clicked the wrong link. Either way, I am thrilled you stumbled into our corner of the internet and I hope you'll stick around. We've got pearls of wisdom for everyone, whether you're running a multi-million-dollar business or simply just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey. Before we unleash the brilliance of today's guest, let's give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, Malomo. Malomo is so much more than just another Shopify app. They're post-purchase wizards, making beautiful and branded order tracking smoother than a jazz solo, so our amazing founders, like our guests, can keep their customers happy and up to date while they track their orders. So hit that subscribe button, like it'll increase your LTV overnight, and go listen to our other episodes at gomalomo.com. That's GOMALOMO.com. Get ready for insights, chuckles, and perhaps a profound realization or two with this newest episode of Retention Chronicles. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Bob, thank you so much for being here today. I'm very excited to chat with you. You just launched last month, and so it's going to be great to get your opinion on both the brands that you have, and I'm very excited for you to be here today. So if you could just say hi to our listeners and kick us off with a quick intro of yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. So my name is Bob Verlaat. I'm 26 years old. I come from a small town in the center of the Netherlands and currently living in Amsterdam. I'm the co-founder of several D2C brands, and of which Dore Rose as well as Hears, which we're talking about today, I guess.
Yes. Very excited by it. We actually didn't talk about this before, but we're very similar in life stage. So I'm 25 currently, turning 26 in September, which we're recording this in June. So in a couple months' time. So I always find it interesting to find people in the e-com space who are of general same life stage. But okay, want to ask you first, because we were talking about this before we hopped on the podcast and we had to pause so that we could actually get it a part of the recorded conversation. So let's talk about your launch and let's wrap into that. How did you know that you were ready to launch? Because some context for our listeners, we were talking about this of just aspirations, having an entrepreneurial spirit. How do you kind of know, after you can see of like launching multiple brands, how did you know which ideas to pick and choose and actually run with? Or are you just the kind of person that says, I have an idea, I'm going to run with it and see what happens? I'd love to know more about that, Bob.
Well, this second launch of Hears went a whole lot different than the first brand. So when we first launched Dore Rose, we just went. So we just launched a product with a crappier website, just opened a Shopify store and did what we felt like was right. Well, for the second one, it was a whole different story because we've learned so much. We know much more what we were doing. So it's a whole different launch process. But coming back to your question on when a product is good enough to launch, it's set for itself. It comes with a couple of things. First, you got a problem-solving idea, right? And first of all, it needs to feel good. It needs to be a product that you know is going to sell, that you know is going to solve a problem, and as well, like especially when we're in a D2C world and we're in the e-com space, it needs to tick all the boxes of the right e-commerce product. So it has to be lightweight, it has to be problem-solving, like I said. It has to be it doesn't need too many sizes. It needs to have different color options. It needs to be able to ship internationally. So coming back to all those factors, then it's a right product to launch for D2C especially.
Okay, wonderful. So I want to bring this up because I know that we were connected. We've had him on the podcast, but Oliver, he was the founder of Exter. So one, that was just simulation moment of, him getting to connect us. And then two, I was also listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Armchair Expert. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they just naturally mentioned that I think I have to remember, and I can fact check this, but that they were using one of your eye masks from Dore Rose. And I was like, oh my God, this is so funny. I'm going to talk with him next week. I was listening to it last week. So I wanted to relay that to you just because I think it's cool to, organically see. I mean, it's a pretty big podcast, one of the biggest ones in the entertainment space for sure. So just for your own awareness in terms of before we dive into branding and all of that fun stuff that I know you've had to focus on for both of your brands, it was a fun moment of, oh my God, like small world, right? It feels smaller than it actually is sometimes. Um, but do you know that podcast at all, Armchair Expert?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'll find what episode it was and then I'll send it to you so that
Yeah, I'm
you can hear
curious. I
it.
would love to hear that.
Maybe
Yeah,
you can clip it, clip it for social media or
and use
something,
it as
right?
an ad.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, they were talking all about it. One of the
But
hosts, Monica.
speaking of Exter is another great like ecom product, great D2C product because it has no size, a small package, lightweight in a way.
Hmm.
So it ticks all the boxes of a perfect ecom product as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it was fitting right along with the thought process of how you actually are coming to deciding what products you want to have and to sell on your store. And so let's talk a little bit before we get into the branding side of things, the strategy, customer retention, all that stuff that we love to get into. Tell us about your background. What kind of made you want to pursue, starting your own company and getting into, how lightweight is this product? Is it sellable in the e-commerce space? It's always interesting to hear how people kind of find their way into this world.
Well, that thought process is only what we look at now, but back then I didn't know. Like
Yeah.
I just wanted to have my own company and wanted to start something. And don't get me wrong, before Dore Rose and before Hears, I've had many failures and many things to try that eventually didn't work out because of all those factors that I know now are the factors to a good e-commerce product. But yeah, since I was like 16 years old, I've always had an interest in D2C products, online business, and especially in e-commerce. So it's been a long road before starting these companies.
Yeah. I love that. So okay, so let's kind of talk about, I know mostly we want to talk about your launch with Hears, and I'm very intrigued just because of I guess I'll leave it as a teaser of the way in which your brand was founded with having people who are influential in the music space. So, but I want to get a little bit more context in terms of give us a boilerplate, if you will, of what Doreen Rose is selling. So our audience, it has a little bit more context, and then lead us into the boilerplate of what Hears is selling.
So for context, Doreen Rose is about three and a half years old now. Well, Hears is just 1 month old. Dore Rose is what we call a sleep wellness brand, and we sell products. We sell like sleep essentials that have benefits for your skin as well as your sleep, including silk pillowcases, full face eye masks, and all other sleep essentials. And with each product, we try to do something special. So we try to make it in a way, or change it in a way, or make it in a way that the market hasn't seen before, to make it special as well as problem solving, which is the most crucial factor for any product we launch.
Yeah,
And
love it.
Here's, on the other hand, the 1 month old company is an earplug brand, something completely different. Also, not earplugs for sleeping, but for the music industry. So yeah, two completely different companies, but owned with both with their very own approach, and very different companies.
Yeah, love it. So let's get into kind of the different approaches for both of those, because one of the things that I was excited to chat with you about is the difference in the industries, right? Of you have, I could see it being, as most things are, right? You have benefits to being in different industries, but then you also have, I imagine, some setbacks or some cons of being in such different industries. So can you kind of walk us through, if you found any? I know it's um, a little bit of probably a shallower question with just 1 month into launching. But any, I guess, anticipated or realized differences between launching the two brands in different industries?
Well, to be honest, right now I only see pros on launching into different industries.
Love it.
It can coexist. It doesn't bite each other. And a lot of the pros come with the general knowledge and skills of doing e-commerce and doing brands, because you can take what you've learned from the one brand and bring it to the other brand, and the brands can learn from each other, the teams can learn from each other, and there's a lot of overlap in using your SOPs, using your tools, and but then again, there's a lot of lots of differences between the two brands, as we use, for some parts we use completely different tools for the one brand than for the other brand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll get into tools later, like just
Yeah,
analyzing
yeah.
tech stack and whatnot, because I know that's what every founder always loves to hear and talk about, and majority of our audience is founders, right? So I know we'll get into that. But now let's talk about, how did you design or I guess find yourself founding Hears, especially having not industry experts, musicians as part of your team, and what has that done for, in terms of product development and understanding, I get the right marketing and everything that you need to do on that side of things? Because as you said, it's not earplugs for sleep, it's earplugs for the music industry.
Yeah, so it obviously comes from like how Dore Rose was launched. Was we saw a great product that we wanted to brand, and the same goes for Hears. We saw an upward trend in wearing earplugs at music festivals, concert, music events, and we saw something boring, and we wanted to make it sexy. And that's the same story for both brands, and that's completely unrelated to what industry it's in. Back to your question about like why with music artists and how that worked out. When we started Dore Rose, it was the usual founder hustle, not knowing what you're doing, for the big part, not knowing what
The
you're
fun
doing.
stuff, right?
Yeah, and trying out things, a lot of failures, a lot of things go wrong. And the second time when we started a new brand with Hears, we knew for a big part that what we're doing was right, but we also knew it was going to take a while to get through that hustle. And a big decision in launching this brand was partnering up with music artists who could bring us the network, could bring us the expertise of the technology itself, making the most out of the product, but also making the most out of the partnerships, the network, and bringing us into a whole new industry that we've never been in before. So that was a big part of the whole launch strategy of Hears, to directly open up a network and not being, hey, we're the new earplug company, but we're an earplug company that works with these guys and these guys,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see this a lot. I think everyone does, but just a lot more in terms of having brand collaborations or having a figurehead or whatever kind of word you want to use, of like influencer to be your or celebrity to be the spearhead of your brand, or just to advocate for it, right? Like referrals, word of mouth marketing, all that good stuff that works very well.
You see it on a big scale with like brands like Skims, with Cali Cosmetics, with all the superstar brands, but there's also a lower tier to it, to partner up with them and not make it directly the face of the company, because I do in a way think that goes two ways, because if you decide to make a celebrity or artist the face of your brand, it could go many ways.
It's it's riskier than having it be a founder, someone who's always going to be attached to the brand, right? You hear the stories of collaborations gone wrong and all that stuff. So it makes sense that maybe it's not like micro influencers, but it's not face of the brand or founder who is the spearhead of the brand. And so can you walk us through the launch timeline of Hears? Because I think that's something that, not being a current founder, I would anticipate a lot of energy, rightfully so, goes into planning out the launch and making sure that everything's up and running. So I think it's really interesting with you coming off of this launch and being able to see, okay, Dore Rose went this way, it's in this industry, it's a little bit different because of the products that you're selling, but mostly you have one cycle or one brand where you have these lessons learned. So how did you then approach launching Here's and, walking through the timelines and like the things that you wanted to hit?
So me and my co-founders were kind of spoiled by the fact that producing this product, like making this product, took 2 years because we had some time to prep. We're all very impulsive and impatient. So uh, you saw that with the launch of with our first brand launch. It might be that the second brand launch would have been the same if we didn't need 2 years to develop the actual product.
Mm-hmm.
So in this whole time, while creating the product, creating the filter technology, because we built quite a complicated product in terms of, it's hearing protection. It needs some licenses. It needs some regulations, which has taken a long time to achieve, as well as building the product from the ground up, like designing the whole manufacturing. Yeah, so like I said, that took 2 years. So we had 2 years time to actually prep or brand launch. So in that 2 years, we took as much time to evaluate every part of the marketing process, like the advertising strategy, the PR strategy, the influencer strategy, and we mapped it all out over a year time, I'd say, to make the brand launch as successful as possible, but more importantly, everything that comes after the brand launch, because a brand launch is not just one moment. It's not like, hey, we launch and now everybody knows us. No, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, it's almost like the start of the race, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I experience this a lot with, on the Malomo side of things of when we're launching new features and just, it's the launch of something, right? But then everything starts of you're seeing, okay, once you finally launch things, people are, they want it in their account or they want access to it, right? And so it's just like you're building up all into the launch, but the best founders, the best marketers know that really is, you need a successful launch, but then it's really after the fact that you're looking at, okay, who has, what's the adoption rate or what's the purchase rate? Like, how's it going? And then you have to continue to iterate on that. So
Exactly. And I also think in this point in time, where you get your acquisition from or where you get your traffic from isn't anymore just like a launch event and everybody knows you. It's an ongoing, an ongoing thing, and especially with Facebook with Meta, not said Meta advertising, Google advertising, it's optimizing in the long run and they're not focusing on one point in time.
yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about it because obviously this podcast is called Retention Chronicles. So we focus a lot on customer retention. And so it's always fun to hear the acquisition side of things of, Meta. And we have a lot of people come on here, obviously, to talk about the ads and the way they're optimizing them and making sure that they're generating that traffic. So what were you focusing on? Was it mostly social media? Was it mostly was it email marketing? Is it the brand collaboration? How are you driving that traffic, especially in the earlier days?
Well, like our most prominent form of getting traffic is Meta, is Facebook advertising, and that comes with a very structured content strategy. We're very high pace in content output. I think many of the brands are now. And this is the biggest part of our marketing strategy, putting out content every week, testing, optimizing, testing. And then I see this whole marketing funnel as Facebook first and everything that comes after. Everything around it comes second. And everything around that comes in forms of PR, influencer marketing, at least like the awareness side of it. Like, and then obviously we have our email campaigns or our bottom funnel marketing and anything related to that.
Wonderful. Or podcasts mentioning you all organically.
or podcasts, also a good way.
Yes, love it. Okay, so walk us through. I always like to hear kind of one of the biggest challenges at specific points in a brand. So we'll focus on during the launch, whether it's working up to the launch or just now being live for a month or so. So what was one of the biggest, or what would you say, what's been one of the biggest tactical challenges for you all when launching this? Because it sounds like product development took a long time, but you knew that that was anticipated. Um, so I'd love to hear kind of what was one of the biggest hurdles that you either were walked through before the launch or you're currently still trying to walk through.
That's a good question. Um, yeah, when I think of the biggest obstacles, it's definitely product based, like
Mm-hmm.
product development based. But if I'd say like in the whole marketing strategy is, I think getting attention to the brand. Um, it's I feel like it's harder than ever to grab someone's attention right now. All of it is online. Everybody's looking at their phones constantly, and like even in meta advertising in general, it's super hard to get your customer out of their TikTok, Instagram reel scrolling flow and change their dopamine rush to something that you're trying to sell them. And the same goes for the brand launch itself and getting people to know your brand, because for them, without any explanation, we're just another earplug brand. Yeah, we did our 2 years of product development, and we truly have something special. But that's what they all say. So getting the attention right from the start as a new brand, in any way, if it's PR, if it's influencer marketing, if it's social media advertising, is definitely the most challenging part of it all.
Yep. Okay, so let's double tap on this and really go into this area of how do you, right, the buyer or just consumers in general, we are very saturated when it comes to just the accessibility on our phones of having everything that at our fingertips that we could probably ever need. And so how do you break through the noise? I think it's something that faces a lot of founders or just even just content in general, right? Like it's anyone who's on the internet is trying to market something, whether it's a product, a service, or something else themselves, right? Personal brand. There is that I guess we'll say worry or challenge of how do you grab someone's attention, but then how do you convert it, right? Because there's the side of social media and meta ads that you're going to engage someone just because it's entertaining, but then how do you get them to actually click and check out more things um that are just a little bit further down the funnel? So have you found in terms of what's been successful for you to get someone to click, is it, having a little bit of um what's the word I'm looking for? Brand reputation enhanced because you're partnering with the partners that you have and people who are well known in the music space? Or is it from, sharing more about the education side of the product of like, this was developed well, and we know, your ears will actually be protected. How do you try and at least, break down what's working for you and maybe what isn't, and then not spend your ad dollars in something that isn't working?
So I'll be narrowing this down to just Facebook ads right now, or just any social ads. What's been working for us for both brands is either two things. One, the ads that are typically ads. You can see it's an ad. Here's the product, here's the offer, and this is what it does. Mostly static images or video ads, just explaining this is our product, no blah blah. This is what it does, and this is how we're better. And then there's the other side of it, which has usually a better hook rate and a better click-through rate, I'd say, is the ones that don't look like ads. And I'm sure I'm not the first one talking about this in your podcast, but UGC or any media form that seems like any of the other TikToks they're scrolling through or any of the other reels they're scrolling through. And the art of advertising would be to, have something entertaining or have something that they like to watch, because this is also what Facebook compliments on, and turning it into a convincing stage where, hey, I really need this product. So those are the two parts, I'd say.
Yep, I love it. So UGC does come up a good amount,
Yeah,
and I love hearing everyone's and everyone's opinion and how they're using it, because I think it also depends, where someone is seeing UGC. We've had we can see it on websites, we can see it in emails, branded tracking pages, and I see that a lot because that's what Malomo focuses in, right? So seeing people okay, after they've already purchased, having that order tracking page instead of going to the carrier, right? They go to a branded tracking page that looks like it's just from your site, and there's UGC or social media right under their tracking information. So then they're like, oh, let's go look at how other people are, it's like some sense of stalking a little bit of like, oh, I just bought from this brand, I want to go see what they're up to and how
What
other
other
people
products
are.
they have?
Yeah, how many followers they have, reputation, and also just, most social media profiles are the good ones, in my opinion, are fun to follow, right? Like engaging. And so I see that a lot in UGC of how are you incorporating it? And I think ads is a great way where someone who maybe isn't in this field wouldn't even recognize that it is an ad, but that's exactly what you want that content to be,
then you've
right?
done your job. Then you've done
Yeah.
your job. If people don't recognize it, then it's an ad. And it's true. Ads are getting smarter, and that same goes for any PR, traditional PR, where you read an article about a certain topic or problem, but in the end you end up buying the product without realizing the whole article was an ad. Or the same influencer who is so authentic, by showing you their "get ready with me," or like using specific products, but in the end it was an ad for that specific, I don't know what product.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, I think that veil will be just closed a little bit more with just privacy and the regulations that social media is rolling out, and that you have to share that you have to put visibly that it's a paid opportunity or paid promotion or sponsored or whatever each profile or each platform requires for their users. But I think it's still the concept of having a great ad be centered around someone actually using your product is not going to go away, even if customers can see a little flag that says sponsored or paid or something of that nature.
Yeah, and there's like soon there will be almost no line on like what's sponsored and what's not.
Yeah.
Some things are truly authentic, and
Mm-hmm.
and
Exactly.
that's even better.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
just mentioned, a guy just buying my sleep mask on a podcast. That's
Yep.
not
Yeah, and they were
sponsored,
just
but
talking
it's
about it, and
still an ad.
yeah, and they're one of the biggest podcasts that Spotify has. So pretty good stuff for you. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. So I also want to double tap before we get more into the customer experience side of things and the post purchase realm, because we've been talking obviously a lot about acquisition, but I wanted to ask because you brought up educating the customer, right? That's a bigger part of product development. That's something that maybe is a difference between Dore Rose and then Here's, because the product development, your ears are so sensitive. You need to have very, very attuned, very thoughtful design behind the product. So how are you educating consumers before they buy? Because one thing that we also see on the Malomo side is educating customers after they buy, of like, okay, this is how you use the product. This is how, right, in like the transactional emails and SMS and order tracking. So I would love to hear your how you're going about trying to educate before someone buys to motivate them to make that purchase.
I think this thought process will be the same for Dore Rose as it is for Here's,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it will be the same for many products, at least products that I've worked with, or the brands that I run. It's like I said, I look for products that are problem solving, and I think most of the products are problem solving in a way. And you try to find your audience that has those problems, or that can find themselves in those products. You're not per se educating them. I think you're highlighting their problems, and you're showing
I
them
like that.
the right
Yeah.
the right solution to this problem. Because in a way, a pillowcase or a sleep mask. Let's take the sleep mask as an example. Having trouble falling asleep, or having trouble sleeping through the night, or You know, it's light outside till late, and we want to sleep in complete darkness, or it will be a problem that the customer is not aware of, like, you know, the whole stage thing you've probably seen before,
Yeah.
where a customer, you know, wakes up to the night, but he or she doesn't know it was because of the light that's coming up early, or so we're just, in a way, in that simple ad, it's the goal to just highlight that specific problem, whatever the problem is, and quickly showing the solution to it. Because the solution is with an earplug or with a sleep mask, it's pretty straightforward what the solution will be to your problem. So it will be highlighting the problem more over than educating them on what the product does, really.
I like that. We actually haven't, at least that I can recall, had someone frame education in that way. So trying to, find the people that have an anticipated problem and then showing them the solution. It's like one of those things that it's a small little tweak in how you are looking at something or how you're thinking about something rather than, you're trying to actively educate someone on that. They're already aware that it's a problem and that they're
Yeah.
not happy with it. Right. So especially sleep, it's what for me, one of the worst things. So I can't get good night's sleep. So I like that reframing of it as maybe not thinking about trying to educate, but trying to problem solve and just putting a solution right in front of someone.
And what might be even more important is showing the outcome, like, and especially communicating the perfect outcome, like having the perfect night of sleep, or no ringing your ears after a night out, or hearing the music perfectly at a concert while still protecting your ears. Like the outcome of the product, not per se the problem is what matters, but the quick solution and the outcome of how you feel after. That's what people buy, I'd say.
Okay, wonderful. So let's pivot into the customer experience here now. So we've already talked about, getting the actual product in their hands and having that conversion. So I'd love to know, what's your process after someone buys with you? How do you retain them? How are you making those efforts to make sure that, once you educate, which really means you're showing them the benefit of having this solution and having the outcome of having this product, how are you then making sure that they're staying with your company and they're coming back for more products to continue to solve issues that they're having in their life?
So yeah, like we're building brands, this is the most important thing. The most easy answer that I have is build a quality product, because if you build a quality product, if you build a nice product, customers will come back anyway. But obviously you have to guide them to that
quality product.
yeah. So same goes for when you go to a restaurant and you had a nice steak, and the waiter comes to you and say, hey, next time try our chicken. It's you come back for the chicken because that's such
good
a good
old
steak.
Upsells and cross sells, right?
Yeah, and that goes as well for your online presence. If the customer bought the first product, also show them your next good product. But the customer will only buy if the first product was amazing, and not just the product, like the whole customer experience itself. Like packaging needs to be top notch, delivery needs to be top notch, customer service, all need to be of the highest level possible that you can possibly achieve within your company. And then well, from my experience, customer will come back. And then I'm speaking of Dore Rose, obviously, because we launched here just a month ago. And
you have a little bit more data on the one.
Yeah. But that's what that's our biggest priority as well in product and experience, having the customer service, the delivery, the service, all of the highest level, because I think in this era, brands will only survive that way.
Yep. Yeah. So how are you then? I think it's great to have that goal of making sure that every single interaction or touch point with the customer is
easier said than done, right?
Yeah, to the highest level, right? Easier said than done. And again, we see this all the time of just customers not knowing where their package is and then inbounding to your support team and being like, where the hell is my package? I bought this with my own money. I want it, blah, 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 right? Or delivery, something goes wrong, or the package is damaged when it gets to them, all these other things, right? It's kind of it becomes a fun party when you're in the in the post-purchase side of things. So is it technology? Is it making sure that you're very boots on the ground with making sure you're monitoring what's going on with delivery and packaging and customer experience or customer service? How are you actually getting to how do you actually get to the
That's
spot
sort
where
of
you know that this is what's happening?
well, for any new business, like this, the start is the founder who does it, right? Like
Yeah.
you got to have a very passionate and caring founder or founders who treat every delivery and every order with heart and make sure like everything goes well, personal touch with the customer. But as you grow, it is very important to keep those keep that attention to as many customers as possible. I'm not saying that we never lose baggage or like not very often, but
It happens sometimes.
it
Yeah.
happens. It happens to any company. What's important is that you stick to that very first caring founder service and scale it to with the right technology, with the right people, scale it to larger scale, and that goes with the right SOPs. We work with a lot of SOPs, making sure that every part of the whole process, from delivery to customer care to tracking, is all organized. We use different tools for that. We use obviously Klaviyo, like the post-purchase flows. We use, and then our customer service team also has specific SOPs to make sure we update the customer well enough, or when there is trouble, or when there is a refund or a return, we proceed in the right way. And the whole team knows that, and the whole team knows exactly what to do in that case.
Yep. Okay, love it. So I love that you recognize that founders are very much going to be in the front lines, especially in the early side of things, and making sure that the customer has a great experience. And I think from talking to a lot of founders at this point, can see that is part of the reason why brands are successful versus not in customer retention, of having that founder that cares and doesn't just want to, try and sell a quick buck, right? You recognize the importance of customer retention. And so now that you can kind of draw the comparison between Doreen Rose and having to be boots on the ground, having to be the founder service or founder led operations versus Here's, are you kind of getting a I guess like a whiplash moment back to when you had just launched Dore Rose, and now seeing that with Here's of, a similar journey of, okay, you were so in it in the early days, but then you can kind of back off as you start to scale, and you add team members into your brand? Or have you been able to, I guess, relinquish some of the control with Dore Rose that you now have again with Here's?
Partly because obviously it's a new brand,
hard,
so
right?
you still experience the same. That you got to do it over, the same hustle. Being more involved. It's a smaller team, but a big part, luckily for us, is that we cover. For example, the customer service team is covering both brands, so we took those SOPs to the new brand, and we know what to do now. And the same goes for logistics, and the same goes for fulfillment. So a big part of the company is not anymore the just us.
Yeah.
What is still new is that it's a completely different product. So yeah, you get different questions, you get different type of customer, and this time at a higher pace, because we now know how to advertise, and we know how to get our acquisition. So directly from a startup, it's a much higher order frequency than we had in the very early days with Dore Rose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. You know how to get the flywheel kind of started a little bit, hopefully a little bit easier this time around, right?
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up this conversation, one question for you that I would love to hear, just because you are really starting off in for Hears and just launched, what's one thing that you're looking forward to, or what's like one goal that you're like, okay, we're marching towards this, or we're excited for this? It can also be for Doreen Rose as well, but I think it would be fun to see, 1 month after launching, what's one thing that you're excited for?
Well, the thing that I'm most excited for is that that I've been working towards for 2 years is seeing happy customers.
Mm,
Like seeing the first results and seeing the comments coming in, telling us like, hey, these earplugs are actually amazing. Um, so this only gives me like a broader perspective on the future on how we're gonna roll it out, how we're gonna use
mm,
extend more in the product line, more colors, more types of products, maybe even more industries, most likely. So not just music earplugs, but who knows what type of earplugs.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it feels like, yeah, it feels like, oh, what we've been working on, we're doing it right. So um, I'm excited to just broaden the product line to get more collaborations in, um, partnering up with bigger festivals, bigger artists, hopefully, because it's a product that we can brand as well and collaborate with as well. So yeah, I'm excited for that part.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Well, this has been amazing, Bob. Thank you for coming in, sharing everything that you had to share for both brands. It's not lost on me that it's a very busy time for you, as proven by just our emails back and forth and all the exciting things that you have going on. So it's great to meet you. Thank you to Oliver Exter as well for connecting us. Because it truly is so much fun to get to sit in this seat and just get to take an hour or so of your time, be able to chat more about, the machine behind the curtain or the wheels behind the curtain. So this has been great. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. That was great.